Right now, the U.S. government knows who he is calling, where she is calling from, and how long they are talking.
When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls. That's not what this program's about. As was indicated, what the intelligence community is doing is looking at phone numbers and durations of calls. They are not looking at people's names, and they're not looking at content.
After eye-popping news that America's National Security Agency has been collecting information on millions of customers of one of the country's biggest telecommunication providers, Verizon, further information of the extent of surveillance conducted by U.S. officials has leaked out. 9 major internet companies, they include Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Microsoft, Skype, YouTube, Apple, AOL, and Paltalk, have been used by the FBI and the National Security Agency to monitor photos, videos, emails, audio, and all other sorts of information, tracking a sweeping scope of individuals' online activity.
In recent years, these programs, together with other intelligence, have protected the U.S. and our allies from terrorist threats across the globe, to include helping prevent the potential terrorist events over 50 times since 9/11.
The city was brought to a near standstill. More than 1 million people were urged to shelter in their homes. Schools and mass transit were closed. Amtrak service was shut down into the city.
Militarized police officers moved door to door in the nearby city of Watertown, sometimes forcing entry into people's homes to search the premises.
Looking at canines, police, several cars from all different cities, Boston, here in Watertown, and some of the surrounding areas. They've brought any police officers they could available. As I said, there was also ATF, SWAT, and the Army.
Tonight, ABC News has learned that police believe during this entire shootout, the semi-automatic handgun in Tamerlan's hand was the only gun the brothers had. That gun was later recovered at the scene of the shootout in Watertown, which means that all day Friday, as the city of Boston was shut down, the man holding it hostage, justifiably considered armed and dangerous, was, at least as far as police can tell right now, actually an unarmed 19-year-old curled up and bleeding in the back of a boat.
Suspended and arrested after refusing to change his NRA shirt, today 14-year-old Jared Markham appeared before a judge, officially charged with obstructing an officer.
$500 fine and up to a year in jail. That's what the 14-year-old student who refused to change his NRA shirt could face.
Well, it's a bill that has received very little attention but may make free speech a felony and seriously restrict your right to political protest. Just signed into law by the president, H.R. 347 gives federal agents sweeping powers to arrest and bring felony charges against citizens engaged in protests where the Secret Service is present. Judge, the thing that jumps out off the page, felony?
Yeah, felony means more than a year in jail. This is not like a traffic ticket. For standing and protesting, the type of thing that for 230 years Americans took for granted because it was protected by the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, has actually been abridged.
The duty of a prosecutor is not merely to convict, but to seek justice. The duty of a prosecutor is to be fair and objective to both sides. It is a decision to engage and put into motion the criminal justice system. The decision to charge someone with a crime. The decision that puts everything about the accused at risk. His reputation, his livelihood, his family, and his civil liberties. The governor of Massachusetts refuses to reveal what kind of taxpayer assistance your son Tamerlan got on the grounds of privacy. Privacy? What privacy? Governor, you take our money and you give it to this dirtbag and you want to protect his privacy? You want to protect his rights? He's dead. He's a terrorist. He has no rights. And what's that? You can't afford an attorney? Too damn bad. And I have an idea. You and your son should be stripped of your citizenship, tried in a military tribunal in Guantanamo. Lady, you shouldn't be allowed here. We don't want you here. We should not be required to breathe the same air as you. We should not be required to suffer the indignity of your presence.
President Obama today proposed something new, something called prolonged detention.
There may be a number of people who cannot be prosecuted for past crimes, in some cases because evidence may be tainted, but who nonetheless pose a threat to the security of the United States.
We will incarcerate people preventively, preventive incarceration. Indefinite detention without trial. That's what this is. That's what President Obama proposed today.
Marissa Alexander is a woman in Jacksonville, Florida, who is facing 20 years in prison because of the fact that she shot a gun to the ceiling when her husband was attempting to beat her up. Okay, she got into a physical altercation with her husband. She was trying to run away from him, and in the process of trying to run away from him, she trapped herself in the garage. She tried to get out of the garage, but the door got stuck. So she grabbed her gun and shot it at the ceiling to basically scare him off, and it worked. However, she was later arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
He managed to get the door open, and that's when he strangled me. He put his hands around my neck. I believe when he threatened to kill me, that's what he was going to do. That's exactly what he intended to do. And had I not discharged my weapon at that point, I would not be here.
Neighborhood Watch leader George Zimmerman called police to report a suspicious black man. Before police arrived, Zimmerman confronted the teenager, and during the scuffle, Zimmerman shot him in the chest, killing him.
And the kid was unarmed. We didn't even discuss that. Totally different case. Let's say the kid had a gun. Are you kidding me? It's a whole different case.
Which he didn't know. All that Trayvon, we learned later, was armed with was a bag of Skittles and an iced tea.
The man you see there, 29-year-old George Zimmerman, said it was in self-defense. He was a neighborhood watchman and felt threatened by a young man he had seen and followed. And now he has been acquitted by this juror.
Earlier this week, we told you about the Islamophobic posters in New York City subway stations. Unfortunately, that's not just an isolated incident. All across America, Islamophobia is rearing its ugly head, from burning down mosques to firebombing homes. But who and what are at the root of all the anti-Muslim sentiment in America?
25-year-old Mohammed says he is stereotyped every single day of his life.
You go to work, ask for a job, like, so they check your name and your name is Mohammed, and they kind of, like, you know, skip you, like, they rather hire the next person instead of you. Like, basically, sometimes too, like, when I travel, like, you know, in the airport and all that, like, you get double checked because of the name and all that.
If there had to be a dirty word this summer, that word would arguably be mosque.
We have enough mosques. We have them all over Long Island. We have them all over the United States. Put it somewhere else.
What it's really going to be is a monument to the 19 hijackers. This close to this site, it would absolutely be a monument to them, and I wouldn't stand for it.
19 extremists are the tip of the iceberg. There is a whole industry behind the destruction of Western civilization.
Here in the U.S., the whole country is bickering over the development of an Islamic cultural center 2 blocks from Ground Zero.
I'm going to use a simple search system to try to see exactly what the deal is with the number of mosques in New York compared to locations representing other religions. This is what you get for Catholic churches, all of these red dots right here. This is what you get for synagogues in New York, and this is what you get for mosques. A staggering difference that really speaks for itself.